The old Victorian, with its slightly crooked porch and sprawling garden, was my sanctuary long before it was our shared battleground. I'd bought it with the first significant payout from my software company, a quiet testament to late nights and ramen-fueled coding sessions. It was mine, every creaky floorboard, every drafty window, every peeling paint chip. Mine. Then came Cassandra. She blew into my life like a hurricane of charisma and perfectly curated Instagram aesthetics. For the first 6 months, it was intoxicating. She loved the house, or so she said, praising its vintage charm and potential. We'd spend weekends browsing antique stores, her laughter echoing through the high-ceilinged rooms. I was, I'll admit, smitten. Head over heels. Blind, probably. The shift was subtle at first. Her suggestions for redecorating became declarations. That hideous armchair has to go, Mark. It throws off the whole feng shui. My armchair, the one I'd inherited from my grandfather, a comfortable, worn leather behemoth, was suddenly an affront to her sensibilities. I'd cave, mostly for peace. Okay, Cass, if it bothers you that much. I let her feel in control. It seemed a small price to pay for the harmony that followed, however fleeting. Soon, my house, my rules, became her refrain, a verbal flag planted firmly in territory she hadn't conquered, only occupied. It started with trivial things. My house, my rules, no shoes past the entryway. Fair enough, I suppose, though I'd always been a shoes-on kind of guy. Then it was, my house, my rules, your gaming setup needs to be in the basement, it's an eyesore. My meticulously organized, multi-monitor command center, my wind-down zone, banished to the damp, spider-friendly cellar. The real kicker was when she started applying it to my life choices within my walls. My house, my rules, your friends can't just drop by unannounced. It's disrespectful. These were friends I'd known for over a decade, who had helped me move into this very house. Each utterance was a small chip at my patience, a subtle tightening in my chest. I'd try to reason. Cass, honey, we both live here. Maybe our rules. Her eyes would narrow. But I'm the one who cares about maintaining a certain standard, Mark. If it were up to you, this place would look like a frat house. So yes, my house, my rules, because I'm the one making it livable. The irony, of course, was a bitter pill I swallowed daily. She'd conveniently forgotten, or perhaps willfully ignored, the fact that the deed, the mortgage, every utility bill that landed on the reclaimed wood console table she'd picked out, bore my name, and my name alone. I'd bought the house 3 years before I even knew Cassandra existed. I let her feel in control. It was a conscious decision, born partly out of a misplaced desire to keep the peace, partly out of a morbid curiosity to see how far she'd take it, and partly, I confess, out of a slow-burning, deeply buried resentment that was coiling like a viper within me. I was playing a long game, though I didn't fully realize it at the time. I documented everything, not in a vindictive way initially, but more as a personal record, a way to make sense of the escalating absurdity. Screenshots of texts, dates of particularly egregious, my rules, pronouncements, even short audio notes dictated into my phone after she'd stormed off. The screaming matches became more frequent, more intense. They were almost always triggered by me pushing back, however gently, against one of her decrees. One Tuesday, it was about the groceries. I'd bought my usual brand of coffee, a dark, robust roast I adored. She preferred a lighter, ethically sourced, single-origin bean that cost 3 times as much and, to my palate, tasted like disappointment. Mark, how many times do I have to tell you? This is my preferred coffee. My house, my rules. You know I can't drink that sludge you buy. She shrieked, holding the bag of my coffee as if it were radioactive waste. Cassandra, it's just coffee, I said, my voice deceptively calm. There's room in the pantry for both. I bought this with my money, for me to drink. It's about respect. You're deliberately disrespecting my preferences in my own home. The volume was astounding. Windows probably rattled. My cat, a stoic creature named Pixel, bolted from the room. That was the one too many, the phrase, my own home. Bellowed with such conviction, finally snapped something. It wasn't just the coffee. It was the armchair, the gaming setup, my friends, my choices, my life being dictated by someone who contributed nothing but noise and an ever-expanding list of arbitrary regulations. That night, after she theatrically slammed the bedroom door, our bedroom, which was, of course, subject to her rules regarding thread counts and pillow arrangements, I sat at my banished desk in the basement, the dim bulb casting long shadows. I pulled up a standard tenant eviction notice template for our state. I'm not a lawyer, but I'm meticulous. I cross-referenced with state laws regarding occupants who aren't on a lease, sometimes referred to as tenants at will. 30 days written notice. That seemed to be the standard. The next morning, Cassandra was in one of her post-tantrum, saccharine moods, probably expecting me to apologize for the coffee incident. She made us her preferred brew, humming a little tune, dressed in a silk robe that had likely cost more than my monthly grocery bill. I waited until she was seated at the kitchen island, scrolling through her phone, probably curating her next aspirational post. I placed the printed, signed, and dated notice in front of her. "Cassandra," I said, my voice even, devoid of the anger that had simmered for so long. "This is for you." She picked it up, a delicate frown creasing her brow. Her eyes scanned the first few lines. "Notice to vacate." Her head snapped up, confusion warring with indignation. "What is this? Is this some kind of joke?" "No joke, Cassandra. It's a formal, legal notice. You have 30 days to vacate the premises." A laugh, sharp and brittle, escaped her. "Vacate? Mark, are you insane? My house, my rules, remember? You can't kick me out of my own house." "That's where you're mistaken, Cass," I said, leaning against the counter, feeling a strange sense of calm I hadn't experienced in months. "This has always been my house. I bought it years before we met. You are a guest here, a long-term one, but a guest nonetheless. And your welcome has expired." Her face went through a rapid series of transformations, disbelief, amusement, then a dawning, furious anger. "You're bluffing. You wouldn't dare. You love me." "I did love you, Cassandra. Or at least, I loved the idea of you, the person I thought you were. But this isn't working. It hasn't been working for a very long time." "You can't do this!" she shrieked, the notice crinkling in her clenched fist. "I have rights." "You have 30 days," I reiterated. "As per the law. I suggest you start looking for alternative accommodation." For the next week, she oscillated between icy silence, tearful appeals, and renewed screaming matches, each time reiterating her "my house, my rules" mantra as if it were a legal defense. "You're really going through with this? After everything I've done for this place? This is my home," she'd wail. "You have done things to this place, Cassandra," I'd correct her gently. "And it was never your home to claim in that way." She told her friends, of course. I got a few angry texts from people I barely knew, accusing me of being cruel, heartless. "Cassandra is devastated," one read. "How could you throw her out on the street?" I didn't engage. There was no point. They only had her heavily curated version of events. The second week, she seemed to adopt a new tactic, pretending it wasn't happening. She'd talk about future plans for our garden, suggest weekend trips, try to initiate intimacy. I remained polite but firm, reminding her of the deadline whenever she broached such topics. "Cassandra, you need to focus on finding a new place to live. The deadline is firm." Her disbelief was palpable. "You're actually serious? You're really going to make me leave?" It was said with an air of utter astonishment, as if the concept of consequences for her actions was entirely alien. I'd hired a process server for the official delivery of a copy of the notice, just to ensure all legal T's were crossed and I's dotted. She'd refused to sign for it, but the server documented the attempt, which was legally sufficient. She called me bluffing then too, through a torrent of tears and accusations. "You're just trying to scare me. You'll regret this, Mark. You'll come crawling back." The third week was marked by a frantic, chaotic energy. She started packing, haphazardly throwing things into expensive suitcases and designer bags. But even then, she seemed to believe I'd crack. She'd leave little notes. "Don't do this to us, Mark," or try to engage me in tearful reminiscences about the good times. "The good times were before the rules, Cassandra," I told her one evening, as she sat surrounded by half-packed boxes of her shoes. The final few days were a blur of her increasingly desperate attempts to sway me. She even tried to leverage her social media. Subtle posts about going through a difficult time, and betrayal from unexpected places, complete with artfully teary-eyed selfies. Her followers, bless their oblivious hearts, lapped it up, offering sympathy and condemnation for the unnamed villain in her narrative. On day 29, she still hadn't secured a new place. She'd apparently assumed I'd relent. "Mark, you can't seriously expect me to be out by tomorrow. Where am I supposed to go?" "That's been your responsibility to figure out for the past 29 days, Cassandra," I said, handing her a printout of nearby extended-stay hotels and short-term rental agencies. "I even offered to help pay for a storage unit for a month and the first 2 weeks at a modest apartment, if you'd started looking in good faith." "You declined?" She had, indeed. "I don't need your charity. I just need you to stop this madness," was her response at the time. Day 30 arrived. I had taken the day off work. I'd also, as a precaution, informed the local sheriff's department that the deadline for a tenant at will to vacate was noon, and I might require assistance if she refused to leave peacefully. They noted it down, standard procedure. Cassandra was still in bed at 10 a.m. when I knocked on the door. "Cassandra, you need to be out by noon." A muffled, "Go away, I'm sleeping," was the reply. At 11:45 a.m., her car was still in the driveway, and there was no sign of her leaving. I made the call. 2 sheriff's deputies arrived precisely at 12:15 p.m., and they were polite, professional. I showed them my ID, the deed to the house, and a copy of the notarized eviction notice with proof of service. One deputy knocked on the bedroom door. "Ma'am? This is the sheriff's department. You need to vacate the premises." The shriek that followed was operatic in its intensity. Cassandra emerged, wild-eyed and disheveled, launching into a tirade about how this was her house, how I was a monster, how they couldn't possibly make her leave. The senior deputy was unimpressed. "Ma'am, we have a legal notice here. The homeowner has requested you leave. You can do this peacefully, or we can escort you out. Your belongings can be retrieved at a later, scheduled time if you can't take them all now." The sight of the uniformed officers, the undeniable authority in their voices, finally seemed to puncture her bubble of denial. The fight visibly drained out of her. She began to cry, real, shoulder-shaking sobs this time, not the performative kind. "But where will I go?" she whispered, looking utterly lost. "That's not for us to determine, ma'am," the deputy said, not unkindly. "But you cannot stay here." It took another hour. She frantically stuffed more clothes into bags, makeup, toiletries. I stayed out of the way, observing from the living room, a strange mix of relief and a residual pang of something akin to pity churning in my gut. Pixel, my cat, rubbed against my legs, purring, as if sensing the shift in the household atmosphere. The deputies waited patiently. Finally, with a last, venomous glare at me, Cassandra dragged her bags out to her car. One of the deputies then officially posted the move-out notice on the front door, a bright orange declaration for all the world, or at least the mailman, to see. It stated that the occupant had been lawfully required to vacate. Later that evening, my phone started buzzing. A friend texted, "Dude, you have to see Cassandra's Instagram Live." With a sense of weary curiosity, I opened the app. And there she was. Broadcasting live, not from a friend's chic apartment or a comfortable hotel, but from inside a brightly lit, starkly utilitarian storage unit. She was sitting on a rolled-up rug, surrounded by stacks of boxes and a jumble of her possessions, the very items that had once elevated my home. Her makeup was smeared, her eyes red and swollen. "And he just threw me out." She was sobbing to her phone, and by extension, to her thousands of followers. "My own home. After everything! I have nowhere to go. This is all I have left. She panned the camera around the depressing little metal box. He didn't even care. Just called the cops on me. Like I was a criminal. I scrolled down to the comment section. It wasn't the outpouring of sympathy she was likely expecting. Wait, wasn't that his house? I remember him buying it ages ago. Girl, my house, my rules only works if it's actually your house. He gave you 30 days? That's more than my last landlord gave me, lol. So you lived rent-free, treated him like crap, and now you're surprised? Sounds like he finally grew a spine. Good for him. Play stupid games, win stupid prizes, nail polish. Hold on, I thought she was a successful influencer? Can't afford her own place? The My House, MY Rules Queen dethroned. Poetic. Drama llama alert. There are always two sides to every story, and hers sounds fishy. Honey, you're not a victim, you're a consequence. There were some sympathetic comments, of course, from her diehard fans or those who didn't know the backstory. But the tide had definitely turned. The narrative she'd so carefully constructed was crumbling under the weight of a reality she couldn't spin. I closed the app. A profound quiet descended upon the house, the kind of quiet I hadn't realized I'd been missing. It was broken only by the hum of the refrigerator and Pixel's contented purrs as he needed a cushion on my grandfather's armchair, which I'd retrieved from the basement earlier that afternoon. The next day, I began the process of reclaiming my space. I moved my gaming setup back to its rightful place in the study. I bought my favorite brand of coffee. I called my friends and told them to drop by whenever they liked. The house felt lighter, brighter. It felt like mine again. A week later, a mutual acquaintance told me Cassandra had moved in with her sister temporarily and was, apparently, completely traumatized and exploring legal options. I doubted anything would come of it. I had been meticulous. The law was on my side. More importantly, the truth was on my side. Sometimes I'd see her old posts pop up in my memories. Photos of us smiling in my garden by my fireplace, her captions full of hashtags like #dreamhouse, #couplegoals, #blessed. A faint melancholy would touch me, not for the loss of her, but for the loss of the illusion I'd once bought into. But then I'd look around at my slightly crooked, charmingly imperfect Victorian, at the comfortable clutter of a life lived on my own terms, and the feeling would pass. I had let her feel in control, true. But what Cassandra, in her relentless pursuit of dominance, had catastrophically forgotten was that the ultimate power play isn't about who yells the loudest or makes the most rules. It's about who holds the deed. And in this house, that had always, unequivocally, been me. The peace was worth every uncomfortable moment of the preceding months. The house, finally, could breathe again. And so could I. The comments on her IG Live had been brutal, but they were also a reflection of a truth she'd refused to acknowledge. Actions have consequences. Her curated online persona couldn't shield her from the fallout of her real-world entitlement. It was a harsh lesson, publicly learned. And as I sat on my grandfather's armchair, sipping my sludge-adjacent coffee, I felt a quiet satisfaction. Not a gleeful one, but the steady, grounding satisfaction of boundaries asserted and peace restored. My house, my rules. And this time, it was undeniably, peacefully true.